Gray's 174 is back. How do people interpret Psalms 22 before Jesus? As a whole passage, I'm not asking about the done to death like a lion talking point. So the like a lion, we all know that this is obviously pierced his hands and his feet to make it about Jesus. But how do Jews understand this whole pericope, this whole chapter, if you will, in Psalms 22 before Jesus is on the scene and Christians end up, capitalizing on that?
This is really not a difficult chapter. The author, King David, is speaking in the first person. This is where everyone misses it. And King David had a lot of problems in his life. For those of you who don't know, you wouldn't envy the challenges of King David. He had many enemies. Imagine not just a wife that mocks you, but you had a son, a child that wanted to kill you. Have you ever been betrayed in your life?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine if you had you ever had a best friend that betrayed you completely? Had you ever had, the people who are, your father-in-law is trying to kill you? Imagine you're in this predicament. This is why King David is called a tzaddik, a righteous person, and he's very similar to Joseph, who everybody turns on. The key is, you just read the text, and it's really a simple reading. This doesn't require commentary. The text, the author is crying out and says, I feel abandoned. And I just encourage you to just open it and let the text speak for itself. The author is going, I don't know why. It's silent. I'm praying to you, and I don't seem to feel that I am being answered, and I'm in a lot of trouble. Moreover, when my ancestors, my forefathers cried out to you, you answer them, but for me, it's just silence. I mean, how could anybody not relate to that? God, are you out there? I know you did things for my ancestors, and now, and I'm in a lot of trouble. The text continues to go, my enemies are all around me, comparing them throughout the text to lions, to bulls, to wild dogs. See Psalm 22, verse 14. The lion doesn't just come up in verse 16/17, depending if you're using Jewish or Christian. It's all over the place. In fact, you can dial this back, Psalm 22, going back to chapter 17, going back to chapter 16. I mean, this is what's happening. This is why I care about Christians, because they're reading Psalm 22 out of context. They're not reading Psalm 21, 20. They're just concentrating on these chapters. They in their church service, it's highly liturgical, and that's when they're getting loaded up with this. There's no magic here. This is not fancy reading. So the author has been, that's all he's been doing, is saying, I feel alone, I feel rejected, and my enemies are all around me. Okay? This is not a prophecy about anybody in the future. It's all in the past tense. Okay? In Hebrew, it's called the perfect tense. Okay? So there's nothing in the future this is going to happen. So the author is saying, I'm surrounded by enemies all about. If you had any of the problems I've described that King David had, how would you feel? Abandoned. And this all leads to the chapter that every one of you are familiar with, and that's Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. It's like this song has been building. You know, the great, great pieces of music. I'm just using this to explain what makes music great, is the build. That's what makes these passages timeless. And what is Psalm 23? I get it now. The Lord is my shepherd, and although I walk in the valley of darkness, and the devil, I know that you, God, are there. Shiftecha v'shantecha hemo yinachamuni. Your staff and your rod. That means something that holds me up and something that beats me. They both comfort me. You have set my enemy. That means, so Psalm 23 is the crescendo. It's the explosion. It delivers the bang. And, I just want to say this to you, like you're listening to my voice right now. There's nothing magical going on. I just read it. The text these are not complex texts. I mean, Daniel 7 this isn't. So that's all that's going on here. This is not a prophecy of the future. And then we look to these characters in Tanakh and we go, okay, this is how we have to behave when we are enduring vicissitudes. And that's where it comes. The Lord ultimately is my shepherd. Good question.
Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol יציר נברא ואת נעשה